Alrighty. Haven't done. Well, we missed January. My goal has been to do one YouTube stream a month. And we did one in December right before I left, but I guess I missed January. I had a lot of time to, but I never did it. What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to Tailosive Tech live on YouTube. I didn't feel like making a video today. I don't know. I was thinking of topics, and all of them were very complicated, and I was like, you know what? We haven't done a stream in a while that's on YouTube. We do lots of live streaming on Twitch, so I put the link in the description to that. If in case any of you don't get your questions answered today, which is more than likely because the YouTube streams typically bring in a lot more people, but the Twitch streams are more personal. But these streams are basically to give you guys a taste and to let you know that we do live streams pretty regularly, just not so much on YouTube. But anyway, welcome, ladies and gentlemen. There were already questions before we even started. I think I should probably answer some of them. Let's see. When will iOS bring in data-centric style, just like every proper OS out there? In short, when can I delete Adobe and still hold on to my PDFs without having shared it? Apple Cloud on my iPhone? Well, Ganesh, I'm imagining that most people aren't using their iPhone the same way they're using a computer, and I imagine not even a lot of Androids are being used that way. You may use it that way, but it's probably not high on the priorities list. The channel is not growing. Why? Well, I just hate growth, so I decided to stop making videos that would increase the number of subscribers of my channel. We are still growing. We got 2,000 subscribers in the past 30 days. It's not growing as fast as it used to, but that's a larger tech community problem. If you watch lots of other YouTubers around my size, you'll notice growth has slowed down a lot in the last quarter of 2019 and early 2020. There's some growth here and there, but the news cycle in January is particularly slow. Outside of that, there was a lot of growth I used to get back in 2018 and 2017. That was because of certain things in the news or certain things I did that brought a lot of attention and viewership towards my channel. So, for one, iPhone 10 and iPhone 7. Removing the headphone jack was very beneficial for my channel. It doesn't sound believable, but honestly, being more controversial and saying things that were more like, I'm the Apple sheep, I want to defend Apple right now. Ooh, you know what? Before I go on, I'm going to make sure I plug in my camera here. I don't want it to die on us. Hold up. Plug in. There it goes. Okay, now the camera won't die. When Apple was doing more controversial things and I would do my Apple Sheep defense videos, they would get a lot of dislike, but it would also they would also grow the channel quite substantially back then. And the iPhone 10 leaks, there were new ones coming out every single day. That was probably the most substantial iPhone upgrade of all time. So there were lots of things to talk about leading up to that. And in 2018, in fact, there was a lot of growth in the channel due to drama. Me reacting to other channels or me doing response videos to other channels, and that would bring a lot of hate to the channel, but it would also bring a lot of fans, and people would end up subscribing from that. If I look back and look at some of my peak months where I grew the most, it was oftentimes because of drama or because of some giant news story. And as smartphones are getting more and more and not as exciting as they used to, that does affect the growth, but it does not slow down the growth of the network. In fact, I'm very pleased to say that in terms of just watch time, this last January in 2020 was our best January ever. Usually, that's when news slows down a lot, but with the introduction of the EV channel, and that one accelerated to over 10,000 subscribers within 2 months, and finding a whole new demographic. There are a lot of people watching Tailosive EV are not even from other parts of the Tailosive network. And that they're just watching for the first time, and we're just discovering a whole new audience over there. So the network is still growing substantially. I think the reason that the specific tech channel is not growing as fast as it used to is, one, because there's not as much stuff to talk about as before, and two, I've just made the choice that I don't like doing react videos and response videos and stirring up drama between other YouTubers. They get a lot of views, and we get a lot of watch time whenever I do that, but it just ticks off fan bases, and then it destroys my audience in the comment section and on Twitter and Discord. I just get a bunch of people that just want to argue, and they're not even interested in a discussion. And I realized that while it resulted in a lot of growth and watch time, it did not result in a happier community. And that's not what I wanted, so I decided I'm not going to do react videos and response videos as much as I used to. But Anywho, that's more tech. That's more YouTube stuff, less tech stuff. Greg's Gadgets, who is on the Talos of Tech podcast, recently super chatted. Says you're at almost 200K. I think you're killing it, Drew. Great job. Thank you, thank you. I didn't think it would take this long to get to 200K, but it's still an amazing thing. I'm very proud of. I'm so proud of this community that we've grown, and excited to see that number go up, and I'm glad it's still going up, and I enjoy talking about tech with you, and I don't care if it takes 10 years to get to 200K or a couple weeks. I don't care. I just enjoy my job. It's a dream job that I get to wake up and just talk about things I like, and you guys make that possible. So I appreciate all of you watching my vids, whether you agree or disagree, whether you like me or hate me. Thanks for making it happen. It's awesome. IYBL, thank you for super chatting. Says Elon versus Jeff, who will be the first trillionaire? Um, Jeff Bezos? Probably Jeff. I mean, he's pretty rich. Elon doesn't have that much like just liquid cash on hand. He doesn't really collect a lot of just pure cash for profit. In fact, Elon pretty much spends his money as quickly as he makes it between Tesla and SpaceX. So even if Tesla does really, really well and ends up becoming $1 trillion company, and they're producing vehicles and they're doing fine, and Elon feels like they don't really need his help anymore, he's more than likely going to go start some other company. He's going to work on an electric jet, or he's going to work on the Boring Company and pour all of his money into that. So I would say Jeff Bezos has a much closer shot. Clint super chatted, says, how do I get more subs? I tried doing giveaways, but that lasts for a short while. Yeah, I noticed that as well. Giveaways are a very quick and short burn way to get attention and subscribers, but in my opinion, that shouldn't be your priorities to just get subscribers, because there are a lot of channels out there that have a ton of subscribers but not a very active fan base. In fact, there's huge channels I've seen that get far less views than I do, but their sub count, it can be 5, 6, 7 times greater than mine. So it's not, and I've done giveaways in the past where I was like, hey, subscribe to my other channels to enter the giveaway. But what that ends up doing is you don't get people that are coming to watch your content because they want to watch your content. They're subbing to your channel because they want something for free. And I feel like that's a completely different motivation. I mean, like, if all you care about in life is watching that number go up and you don't care about anything else, you just want to have a high sub count, then sure, I guess do as many giveaways as you can. But if you actually want people coming back to your channel and watching your stuff, a giveaway is really not going to make that happen. All a giveaway is good for is boosting those numbers so that you can, because people want free stuff. They're not following you because they want to watch more of you. So that's why I don't really do them that much anymore. I used to do them a lot back in 2017 and 2018. I would give away something, not big, but I mean, for the 100, when we hit 100K, we gave away a HomePod. That was probably the biggest one. But since then, I've just been like, it just creates a bunch of people that are just interested in you because they wanted something for free, and then they never watch your stuff. So, in other words, to increase subs, basically, there's not a secret formula. I don't pretend to have it. I don't think there's something. It's very simple. All you have to do is X, Y, Z. I don't think it's that simple. I think what worked for me may not work for you. And what it basically comes down to, very big picture, is make the content you want to watch. Okay? That's all I can break it down to. Because if you're making stuff you want to watch, then you will be willing to make lots of content that may not get a lot of views, and staying consistent and not looking at an option of, well, this might not work out. Don't see that as an option. Like, the one option is, I want to make content that people want to watch, and I want my audience to grow. It just takes a lot of just persistence and just commitment to it, that you're just not going to give up. And the best way to get into a position where you're not going to give up and you're going to be persistent with content you produce, and always be looking for ways you can try new things, because if you're doing the same thing over and over again and it's not succeeding, then that means something needs to mix up. Like 10, 12 years ago, when I first started making YouTube videos, I was just making comedy skits and shorts and action scenes. No one wanted to watch them. And after a few years, I was like, okay, this isn't working. So it wouldn't help of me to just be persistent and keep trying to make those and then wait for subs to show up. So that's when I started doing other stuff. I was like, well, I watch a lot of YouTube videos that aren't comedy and action. I watch a lot of tech stuff. So I'll start making tech videos. And it didn't take off right away, but I did gaming, I did movie reviews, I did all kinds of stuff that I wanted to watch. I was like, this is the type of network and these are the type of YouTube channels I want to see. And because I was so into them and I was so passionate about them, it allowed me to be persistent. It allowed me to stay on top of it and try to make them better over time. And eventually, they started working out. And here we are today. That's why you're watching this. Why is the chat talking about married life? I am married. I have a ring here. Let me catch up with Super Chats here. Any thoughts on Apple over-ear headphones? Well, I did do a video on that, Rod. I want them to come out. I hope they come out. But Quo has a fairly reliable track record, so I would say that there's a pretty good chance of them coming out. They've definitely been in development for a while. We got rumors of them a long time back, but we haven't heard anything recent until just now. Josh super chatted, says, got an 11 Pro Max recently, and I'm loving it. So glad I listened to you and sprung for the Max. Love the videos and can't wait for more. Thank you. I'm glad you're enjoying your phone. And just keep in mind, people, my goal of the channel is not to switch everyone to iOS. My goal is that you get to choose what phone fits your needs best, and you don't have to get criticized for that. You can just pick what you like and what suits your needs, and that's all. Even if if the 11 Pro Max doesn't suit your needs, well, don't buy it. I'm not saying everyone needs to use an iPhone. Will the production of iPhone decrease due to the coronavirus because it's made in China? Yes, I believe so. I think I just read a report that said Apple's closing down a whole huge number of... Where is it? It was in the Discord earlier. A huge number of their stores and locations in China. A bunch of stuff's getting delayed from the coronavirus. So, yeah, scary stuff. I hope it gets resolved soon. But, yeah, a lot of production and stuff in China is definitely going to be affected by that. And I don't know what you want to say. Thoughts on Brexit? The people have been asking me that, I think, for 4 years. How long is it? How long is it taken for the Brexit to actually happen? I remember when they voted on it, everyone was asking about it. I don't really follow that story very closely because I do not live in Britain. I have ancestry from Britain, but that's about it. I've never been there, and I don't really plan on going there anytime soon. Maybe someday, but I don't follow that story very closely. So all I know is that Britain has left the EU. Got it. Okay, that's about all I know. It has happened. I got it. I saw the reports, but I don't really have thoughts on it. Apple AR glasses replace iPhone eventually? No, I don't think glasses, I don't think augmented reality would replace the iPhone because you'd still have the problem of cameras, which we use our phones for a lot. That's a lot of money and time gets put into the cameras on our phones. And it would be much, much harder to take pictures and videos, especially selfies, and do FaceTime calls if you just had AR glasses, because when you have something mounted on your face here, you can't really take a selfie, you can't really take a video or FaceTime call. It would be very, very difficult to do. So I don't think they could completely replace them. And there's also the social aspect when it comes to typing and being and scrolling on someone's phone is far more natural in our society than something on the glasses where you just don't know what to do with your eyes. They would be a great accessory. I'm really pumped for them, and I would love to try them, but they would just enhance the products we already have. They would not replace them. How do you feel about the new iPhone 12 color? Well, we don't know what the new colors we don't know what the new colors are. Mass production doesn't start until May, which means that nothing has been finalized yet at this point. But if there's a midnight blue color, that looks cool. I'm all for more colors. I have nothing against that. I don't think I would choose it. I'm more of a silver guy. But the only colors I would consider switching away from is product red or piano black. Like, not a space gray, but like a harsh, deep black for the Pro model. If they did one of those, I'd probably switch to it. But if they just did midnight blue, I'm sure a lot of people would get it, but I would not be one of them. I would stick with silver. Let's see. What is your favorite non-iPhone Apple product? Probably the Tesla. So one of the Tesla models. Probably the Model Y. Model Y is probably my favorite. Oh, you're saying non-iPhone Apple product. I thought you meant non-Apple product. No, if we're talking about an Apple product that's not the iPhone, probably Apple Watch or AirPods or something like that. No, iPad, definitely. iPad Pro I love more than my iPhone sometimes. They do a lot of stuff better on the iPad than they do on the phone. With USB-C and ProMotion, the Face ID works for multiple angle. Easily the iPad Pro. I think at this point, I might just put the iPad Pro ahead of the iPhone. It's amazing. Is your iMac Pro aging well? pretty good. I mean, considering this is almost, I mean, it's a little over 2 years now. I got it at the very end of 2017, so I guess it kind of stretches over 3 years, but it's closer to 2 years. And everything was going great until macOS Catalina, and I had that bumpy OS, which felt like a beta, even though it was the official release. So since then, there's been a bit more bugs. It's been a little confusing, and it's been a little inconsistent, which has been annoying. Um, but outside of that, no, it's been great. I've just had little things here and there, but they've gotten better. There's been more macOS updates since then that have fixed a lot of the issues I originally had, and I just hope Apple can keep the bugs, lower in time. But overall, I'm not in the market for a Mac because I'm very happy with the iMac Pro. It handles everything. I do multiple 4K at 60 videos every single day. Tech vid, EV vid, sometimes a vlog, which is 4K at 60, or a Saturday short like I just did, which is all 4K at 60. Handles it great. Occasionally, I'll have Final Cut lag out, but I'm pretty sure it's a bug because if I close the program and open it again, it won't lag out. So I don't think it's a limitation of the hardware. I think it's like, I don't know, cache buildup or something. Not as big an issue as it used to be. It's slowly getting better, but yeah, I'm not in the point where it's so frustrating that I'm ready to switch to something else. I don't need the Mac Pro, and for a while I thought about getting a 16-inch MacBook Pro, but iMac Pro is just held up too well, and I had a laptop that I was barely using, so it just doesn't make sense. Ruby, super chat. It says dab for us, Drew. Are we still dabbing? Okay, that's $4 dab. That's about as good as dab as you're gonna get. What did someone say earlier? Garrett says, "How are you liking the new monitor you got?" I did like it. I talked about it in my desk tour video. I know no one wanted to watch it, but I didn't care. I wanted to make one. This is now like my favorite monitor. Why is the camera on the iPad? That's weird. Okay. Yeah. Once I switched to a 32-inch screen, I realized this was a big mistake because I preferred it way more than all the 27-inch monitors I'd grown up with. When I first got an iMac, my first computer, that was brand new. I had some used ones before it, but my first brand new iMac was 21 and a half inches, the smaller one. And I was like, this is fine. I can work with this. But once I switched to 27-inch iMac, I was like, oh, dang, this is so much better. I have so much more room, and I can breathe, and I can have so many more windows and stuff. This is great. And then the same experience happened now when BenQ sent me that monitor. Once I switched to 32 inches, I was like, God dang it, this looks way better. Like now it's just so much nicer having much more screen real estate. And now the 27-inch monitors feel super tiny. So I need to stop. If I tried a 40-inch monitor, I would probably prefer that. So yeah, it's a shame. I like it, but the only thing I wish it was a higher refresh rate. That's what I love about my Predator monitor there, is the higher refresh rate. Other than that, it's great though. I like the built-in speakers. They're not great, but they're actually pretty decent. And the 4K is nice. I'm perfectly happy with 4K. I don't need more than that on a monitor. That's plenty. I probably don't need more than 1440p, to be honest with you. I can barely tell the difference on the Predator. But either way. Did someone send one earlier? Sorry, Clint. Super Chat says, what do you think of PWM? Is that reason for 10R and 11? Y'all use a lot of acronyms that you just assume I know. Someone help me out here. What do you think of I'm trying to think of what PWM means. Dang it. Oh my goodness. Yeah, please don't spam in the chat, people. That's not necessary. Help me out. Help me out, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know what that stands for. I want to answer your question, Clint, but I'll look for you in the chat. When will there be a foldable iPhone? Probably never. Playing with me, but that's that's probably not it. Personal wallet monitor? Now we have random people in politics. You know what? Because someone pulse width modulation. Oh great! Now you explained it, and I don't even know what it is. Pulse width modulation. Is that the reason for 10R and 11? Okay. Is that the thing you're talking about of OLED causing a eye strain for some people? Like some people have an issue with OLED displays. They give them a headache because is that what pulse width modulation is? Even though you don't, I'll answer Greg's question next, but I want to make sure. Okay, I'm gonna make Greg. It's the backlight. Okay, it's the backlight. I'm gonna make Greg a mod, and I'm gonna make Michael a mod because we have spam in here. Let's see. I think I don't have that issue personally, but I imagine that in the long run, that's probably not going to be a huge priority because what reports and rumors are telling us so far is that all the iPhones in this year's lineup, other than the SE, are going to be OLED. So some people are saying that maybe the reason they're doing LCD on the 10R and 11 is because of the pulse width modulation. That's why. And I personally think that it was done more for price reasons. It was just cheaper. I don't think they were doing it for that demographic because I do believe they exist. I just don't think they're a common enough user base for Apple to design a phone around them and just keep LCD around for that purpose alone. I don't have the OLED eye strain issue, but I know they're out there, but I hate to break it to you. I think that's something that's just going to end up getting neglected in the future. I don't think Apple's just going to continue having an LCD iPhone forever just for that market. So that sucks, but I personally think that's the way it's going to be. Luckily, it doesn't strain my eyes, or maybe they think there's ways they can improve OLED in the future to prevent that. I don't know. Maybe there's ways they can combat it so that you can have both. But we'll see. Oh, Viper's in the chat. Why is he not a moderator? Let me do that. Okay, Greg's question. I'll catch up on the super chats here. Even though you don't think foldables are the future, do you have any plans on reviewing one this year? If they ship one, okay? Right now, me and my wife are sharing the one car, and I'm not interested in taking a road trip just so I can pick up a Galaxy Fold. I don't want to try it out that bad. And that's what I would have to do to get my hands on one at this point because the local Best Buy or AT&T that has them does not, in my area, doesn't have them. So I would have to drive hours and hours in order to get my hands on one, and I don't want one that bad. I really don't. I'm not in the market for a foldable because I'm sure I would review it and say, okay, the folding part's kind of neat, but this isn't the future. And I don't think that video would be warranted just doing a whole road trip on it and then having to drive it back because I wouldn't want to keep it. I would probably return it. So I would love to try a foldable if they actually shipped one. So I'm probably more interested in the Galaxy Z Flip is what they're calling it. I need to do a video on that. We got some more leaks for it. But the Z Flip, first of all, why are they calling it Z if it's just a clamshell? Like, why don't they call it the V Flip? That would make way more sense. A Z should be something that has two hinges that like folds into three different sections. But I don't know. Either way, I think the Z Flip is probably the best foldable yet, but that's not saying much. It's kind of like saying it's the fastest snail in the world. I'm like, I still don't think it's the future, but in regards to making a decent foldable with a fairly reasonable price point, this is the closest. I still don't think it's going to be a great seller. I don't think a lot of people are going to want it. I think in the tech community it will feel like a big deal, but outside of that it won't. Samsung doesn't have a good grasp on what the market actually wants very much. Most of their company's revenue comes from manufacturing, not phone sales anyway. And they had a terrible year in regards to profit. They had drastically lower profits, and I think part of that was them just not really understanding what people want in a phone. So what the tech community wants and what average consumers actually want are very, very different. That's why we see people bash the iPhone 11 and bash the iPhone XR so much, and then they sell incredibly well. And we see people praise Samsung, and we love what Samsung's doing, and then you see their profit margins go way, way, way down. The Galaxy Flex. Yeah. Name of Z Flip ain't official yet. It's official. It's pretty much there. Okay, am I caught up on Greg's question? Yeah, personally, I think it's one of these middle steps. Like, a lot of people look at foldables and are like, they're the future. They're going to happen. It's going to come in time. There's a lot of things companies make that don't end up being the mainstream. We just don't remember them because they're not mainstream. Like, there were curved phones with curved displays. Those didn't take off. There were a lot of people that thought in the future all phones would have projectors built into them. And there were a few phones that did, but it didn't really catch on. And now it's like an aftermarket accessory, and it still ended up not really being a mainstream thing. They were all things that at the time of them coming out, or a physical keyboard. I remember back when the original iPhone first came out, there were a lot of competitors that were saying their phone's better because it actually has a keyboard. It actually has a keyboard, or it actually has a removable battery, or all types of things that people are like, no, 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 this is the mainstream. This is what you have to have. This is where the future is going, and then it just ends up not going that way. And that's how I think foldables are going to be. I think that they're going to have their place in the tech community where people think they're cool and they're excited. Look at this curved phone, or phone has the projector screen. But then it just kind of dies out because there's not enough consumer demand for it. Tech community, sure, they'll be really happy, but consumer-wise. Ruby super chatted, says, FYI, the dab thing was just because I didn't have an actual question. Love your stuff, dude. You've been a huge inspiration for me in my film class. Oh, well, you're welcome. Thank you for super chatting, and I'll be happy to dab to inspire all film students across the globe. Thank you. As dated as dabbing may be. Dexter super chatted, what do you think of 5G and the OnePlus 7T Pro 5G? I think that's a terrible name, and I think 5G is stupid. I don't think 5G is something I do think is in our future. It's not something like foldables that I think is going to be a fad, and then it's just going to kind of die off and just be kind of a small part of the market, but it's never the mainstream. 5G is, for the most part, always advertised for phones, and I think that's the place where we need 5G the least. The place where we need faster internet speeds is home Wi-Fi. We need places that can just go to the house, because that's where we have desktops and, you know, people plugging in and doing high bandwidth stuff where 5G would actually matter. The majority of stuff being used on our smartphones are browsing Twitter, watching videos, listening to music, browsing the web, social media. None of these things require gigabit speeds. And the occasional things that do require gigabit are not usually are not common ones. They're not things that everyone needs to do. Whenever I say that, what are you going to use 5G for on a phone? People are like, well, you could download movies really fast, which I say is pointless because we're moving towards streaming anyway. So the whole thought process is that you're going to be on 5G cellular, but then download stuff so that when you're offline, you can watch more stuff. With the future of internet being more accessible in all places, we're not going to be in a place where we need to download entire seasons of shows within minutes. If you're going somewhere and you're going to be offline for a long time, we have Wi-Fi for that. You can anticipate that. Most people don't just spontaneously go without internet for 5 days. If you're going to be going to a location or not have Wi-Fi or not have internet for a while, you typically know it's coming. And the fundamental flaw with 5G is that it's such a difficult installation process to, you know, get the cell waves to go through a wall or through even a tree. It's so shortwave that in order to get to a place where 5G would actually matter, we would have to install an insane amount of towers all over the place, that it's going to not take just years, but like a decade before the high-band 5G is actually available. And again, most of what we do on our phone does not require it. Most people are not live streaming 4K at 60 on their phones. And I don't think that's going to change in time. Well, in the future, people... live streaming is not that common of an everyday task. For everyday stuff, LTE can do just fine. And we haven't even maxed out with what 4G is capable of doing. In places like South Korea, you can see with traditional 4G technology, we can get well into the 200 and 300 megabits per second, which can allow you to do easily 4K at 60 live stream. So gigabit, we need that at home Wi-Fi, and it's not universally accessible. Not every house in America can get gigabit speeds, whereas smartphones do not need it. So to me, it's just a giant marketing ploy by carriers to try to get people to buy. Now, because I know T-Mobile doesn't charge extra for 5G, but it makes sense because what they've done is barely 5G. I've had speeds with my Mint Mobile carrier that are faster than T-Mobile's 5G because it's not even like true, like that's what I find so frustrating about it, is that T-Mobile can say they have 5G even though it's under 100 megabits per second, and Verizon says they have 5G even though it's 1500 megabits a second. So saying that it's just next generation stuff even though it's completely vague what the speed actually is. Well, there's low band, there's high band, there's mid band. If you're not breaking LTE speeds, it's not 5G to me. It's just marketing at that point. And the actual speeds that are next generation are barely accessible and impossible to roll out and completely unnecessary on a phone. So it's, in my opinion, a way to get you to buy the phone that has the 5G label on it. So it's a great marketing tactic to say, well, you got to get the 5G version for better cellular. Or it's a way to upcharge your plans, because you think T-Mobile's not going to upcharge their plans once they start rolling out high band like Verizon is? Kind of doubt it. I'd be surprised if all their plans just stayed the same. So I couldn't be happier that I'm not part of the 4 major carriers now. I'm not paying for cell service for the next 2 years because of Mint Mobile, and you guys using my referral codes. Thank you. And I hope to keep it that way. I don't care if Mint Mobile never gets 5G, because I can watch 1080p high resolution video on cellular. I can do everything I need to with that. I just want better coverage. I don't need better speeds. It's not a limitation of the cellular technology. Starlink is far more interesting, because Starlink is something that's going to be utilized for home internet, which I think needs way more attention than cellular. Cellular just needs better coverage. It doesn't need gigabit. Home Wi-Fi needs better gigabit, because I'm paying the absolute maximum I can for my Wi-Fi right now, and it still maxes out at 40 up. I get a gigabit down, but I only get like 40 megabits up, which I could do so much more with my channel if I had a gigabit upload. I could do so much more, or even not even that, like just a tenth of that. If I just had 100 up and 100 down, I would be way more happy than I am with my internet right now. I don't need a gigabit download. Rockford Media super chatted $50. Holy crap, thank you. That was super generous. Appreciate it. And he just said hi. Thank you very much. Starlink, for those who don't know, is a SpaceX project that's currently in development. So they're sending up it's satellite internet, but in a completely different way. So there's been satellite internet in the past where you put a dish on your house, you point it at the satellite. It's not very reliable, it's not very fast, and it is often destroyed by clouds and bad weather, and it's very limited. But that's usually because there's only 1 or 2 or 3 satellites being used with traditional satellite internet. Starlink, because SpaceX has figured out a way to make cost-effective rocket launches, is going to be 200, 300, 500 satellites. And they're very small, so they dissolve in the atmosphere. It doesn't create too much space junk. They have to they've been approved by regulators. They're allowed to send these things up there. They think they've already done 4 or 3 launches. Correct me if I'm wrong. Each launch is 60 satellites each. And the initial promise that Starlink is offering is that you will be able to get a gigabit speed, which I believe is up and down, from satellite internet. First, they're going to roll it out in North America, but eventually they want to get to a point where you can connect to it anywhere in the world. And they want it to be somewhat affordable, like under $100 a month or around $100 a month. I don't. Nothing's confirmed yet. Thank you, Nick. They've done 4 SpaceX launches, 60 each, so they already have 240 satellites up. They've already tested it, and they said that it's looking pretty promising so far. So it'll be low latency. It's not going to be something your phones tap into yet. There may be a way in the future for phones to tap into it, but that it hasn't been miniaturized yet. But it will be something you'll be able to attach to your house and basically have really fast internet anywhere in North America for a reasonable price. And I would definitely sign up for it as soon as possible. No. Total Starlink constellation will between 4,000 and 5,000 satellites. That's insane. And do you think it will interfere with astronomy? I don't. I think there's a lot of room up in space. It's just the surface area of the Earth plus more, because it's even larger. And the satellites are very, very small, so I don't think they will intrude with astronomy that much. When are you going to announce the winners for the pomegranate giveaway? Oh, you asked about it, Ahab. That means you can't win. I've already selected the winner. I've already given it to them. But as soon as you ask about the pomegranate giveaway, you instantly lose. DJ Super Chatted, they have the license. They have the license to do up to 42,000 satellites. That's crazy. I'm pumped for that. They also, Nick, when are they expecting to roll it out? Like May? They think it'll be available in North America in May, right? It's an insane amount of satellites, and what it basically will result to is you'll just have to point it towards the sky. It's not going to be like a dish where you have to hold it up just right, and when the clouds show up, your internet gets worse. It's just point it up at the sky, gigabit internet. Boom. $100 a month. I would instantly switch to that because Xfinity sucks and I hate it, but it's the only option next year for commercial use. No! I want them to roll it out now. You could see a nickel from orbit if the sun reflects right. Really? I want to see that proven. Someone needs to flick a nickel up there. Apple has AirPods and AirPods Pro, and they might make over-ear headphones. Will moves like Apple-branded headphones and earbuds cannibalize Beats company as a whole, or will it result in merging Beats? They've seemed to do okay with them both. I mean, Beats is still doing their Power Beats series and their Power Beats Pro, which I reviewed, and a lot of people like them over at AirPods, and I don't think they completely cannibalize because Beats probably is going to have more options. They have the Studio Pros and the Solo Pros and the Solo 3s, and they have a lot more variety, whereas Apple's usually just does one. And they've been selling AirPods alongside Beats X and Power Beats for years now, so it seems like they can coexist. I think there's a way they can do it. But Apple owns either, so it doesn't matter. Must be $500, probably. Yeah. But wouldn't it eat up data like 3 seconds? What do you mean? You can see ISS with naked eye. Yeah, ISS is huge. That's like one of the largest satellites we have. That's not the same size as a Starlink satellite. Starlink's much smaller. I know you can see the International Space Station. That's huge. It's not the same thing. What do you think about the new EU law? My friends argue that it is stopping innovation. I think that's ridiculous because they've done nothing innovative with the charge port in years. They haven't done anything major. All they've done is just kept it with Lightning and then maybe 1 year make Lightning a little bit faster. So switching to USB-C would just let data transfer be even faster than it is now. And I don't even care about the argument of, well, they're switching to portless soon anyway. Then it doesn't matter. Just let the charge port be there as a backup. You know, if you're pushing wireless so hard, every reason Apple gave for giving the iPad Pro USB-C, you could apply to the iPhone. Every single reason. There was nothing you couldn't do with the iPad before that you could do with the USB-C on the iPad Pro. It was just for the sake of compatibility. It did not enable anything else. There were still adapters that allowed you to plug in hard drives or SD cards into iPads with Lightning. That didn't change. The only reason they added USB-C was compatibility with pre-existing accessories. And that's the only reason we want it on the iPhone, is consistency. We want to charge everything with one port. It won't stifle innovation because no one can suggest any type of innovative thing to add to the charge port. I haven't heard anything yet. What are you trying to do to the charge port? Are you gonna make it more water resistant? Are you gonna make it charge faster? No, we all know Apple's moving to get rid of it eventually anyway, but in the meantime, might as well make it consistent with all of other devices. Super chatted from Rockford Media. You said in your short film you have the coronavirus. I'm Tim Cook, by the way. Okay, hi, Tim Cook. Yes, I did. I don't actually have the coronavirus. Don't worry. I'm safe. But thank you for the insanely large super chats, Rockford. Appreciate that. Thank you. Ruby super chatted, says, sorry for the constant messages, but I thought of a question. Do you use iCloud Mail? I have an iCloud email, but I haven't found an advantage over Gmail. I have a ton of different emails. The iCloud one's probably the one I use the least. I think when I signed up for my Apple ID, they made me create an iCloud, but I very rarely use it. So yes, I do have one, but I have to have a Gmail for Google, so I use that for a lot of stuff. And when I was young, I signed up with Yahoo, so I still use a Yahoo quite a bit. A Yahoo, is that the correct name? We got a new YouTube member. Thank you, Rational Pragmatist, for supporting. Appreciate that. Please review the Mac Pro XDR and Mac Pro. What? You mean the Pro Display XDR? I'm not interested in those. And if I did, I would just say, okay, they're very fast, but they're very expensive, and I don't need them. Get the iMac Pro. All of my videos I've done on the Pro Display XDR and Mac Pro have summed up my opinions on those. I don't think buying them and reviewing them would give you any type of extra feedback. Nick and Randy claim that if I tried out Pro Display XDR at the store, my mind would be changed about it. Because apparently they went to an Apple store, they looked at it, and it was mind-blowing, and they said it was worth the price. And I call BS on that. I say, No way. There's no way that thing's worth $5,000 or $6,000 with the stand. Not worth it. Not worth it. Did you see the new design for the iMac that Lou showed? No, I didn't. Who? Rig GamerStop. Your mind will be blown. Okay, Nick's still staying true to that. I don't believe him. Is it essential to have an Apple Watch to enter the ecosystem? No, not really. You could take advantage of the Apple ecosystem without the watch. You could have AirPods, iPhone, iPad, Mac. Those all work together really well between Sidecar, AirDrop, iMessage. Apple Watch doesn't need to be there. It's a nice part of it because you wear it and it helps with activity and notification management. I would say it's a good second step, but no, I wouldn't say. I definitely wouldn't say you have to have a watch. It's nice though. I'd recommend it. I love my Apple Watch. I've gone several times without wearing it for prolonged periods, and it was annoying. It got annoying very quickly that I had to keep pulling my phone out of my pocket to see who texted me. So once I get used to it, it's very hard to move away from it. Rockford Media super chatted. It is worth a lot more when you see it. I don't believe all y'all. I think y'all are sheep. You're making me look like Fandroid at this point, but I'm sorry. Just colors is not worth that much to me, especially given how great normal displays are at displaying color. I'm not going to look at a monitor and say, wow, that looks really blue. That's a very blue screen. That's totally worth $6,000. My iMac Pro was less than that, and that's an entire computer. Just a monitor that's really good at showing a couple colors. I don't buy it. I don't buy it. The amount of people asking questions that have already been answered in videos is crazy. Yes, Michael, but those videos aren't live. Those are pre-recorded. There's a disconnect there. Now that people are watching me right now saying, this is where Drew is right this second, and this is exactly what Drew's doing right this second, is way more interesting. Now they want to ask me all these questions. Your Heart of Hearts, your Team Pixel, you silly goose. Yes, that's right. Heart of Hearts, I'm super Team Pixel. That's why I wear my HomePod shirt and an Apple Watch at all times. Hope new features come to iPad OS. Probably. More than likely will. Will you buy Samsung? I believe so. I usually buy the Galaxy S phone every year, so I'm planning on getting an S20. And if they actually ship the Galaxy Z Flip, I'll probably get one. If I have to go to some Best Buy 6 hours from here, I'm not getting one. They need to ship a foldable in order for me to try it out. Are you watching the Super Bowl tomorrow? Nope. Not interested. I'm not much of a baseball fan. So, and the pixels, the dynamic range, and the stand. You can't see the pixels. Pro stand's $1,000. Give me a break. That's how much a phone is. Drew, will you buy a foldable this year? Yeah, probably. Not to keep. I'll probably get the Z Flip if they ship it. That's my terms. Don't make me get up. I'm a very lazy person, okay? I'm not going to drive hours just so I can look at a phone with a hinge. A lot of people, I guess, are just obsessed with displays, and as soon as they see a display that's suddenly a little bit different, they lose their minds. Oh my god, it folds back and forth. That's not impressive to me. I'm not impressed by the fact that an OLED display can go back and forth. That's not amazing. Maybe some people find it amazing. That's just, at the end of the day, I use the phone the same way. In fact, the foldable mechanism seems like it would get in the way, that you would have to flip it open every time you want to use it, whereas right now I can just raise to wake, open it, and it unlocks. I don't want to have to flip the whole thing open every time. That sounds like it would get old. But it folds! To me, the Z Flip, and people getting excited about that, is proving that none of people's interest in foldables has any functional benefit. It all comes down from just it being cool because it folds. It folds. That's why it's cool. Because every reason people talked about why the Galaxy Fold is cool doesn't apply to the Z Flip. Everyone's like, wow, you can fit a tablet-sized screen in your pocket. And now it's a normal-sized screen that happens to fold, and everyone's still just as pumped for it. No one's like, oh, I thought the whole point was tablet-sized screen. It's like, nah, doesn't matter. As long as it folds. What sports are you into? No sports. The Galaxy Fold had a functional use. The Z Flip doesn't. The Galaxy Fold had a functional intention. I wouldn't say it was that useful, but I mean, I can see the argument being made. It was. I don't think Android is very good at tablet displays in the first place. So them arguing that you had a tablet-sized display, it's like your software doesn't take good advantage of it anyway. But um, I reserved a Galaxy Fold, and then Samsung canceled it automatically. So no, I did not get to keep that reservation. But they did let me have a free SSD, which was cool. That was their apologizing gesture. On-screen Touch ID. You know, they've been saying on-screen Touch ID since 2016, and it hasn't happened yet. So I'll believe it when I see it. There have been patents for it for years. There's been development, I'm sure, going on for years with under the display. We know it's possible. Androids have it. Whether or not Apple wants to implement it, I'm gonna guess no. I think they have prototypes behind the scenes that do it, but I don't think they're actually gonna release them because they've put too much on Face ID now between Animoji and making it better with time and having it work from more angles. I just think that more people are comfortable with it. I would rather them spend more time working on improving Face ID than bringing back Touch ID. Uh, so I don't treat it as anything new when I hear a report or I hear a patent that Apple's working on Touch ID underneath the display, because that's been a thing since before the iPhone 10. Even before the iPhone 10 came out, there were patents for that, and they never made it into an actual product. So my guess is that they're just prototypes. I don't think it's actually coming. Touch ID on the power button is the way to go. No, I said Face ID. Get rid of Touch ID. Face ID can do pretty much everything Touch ID can and better. There's only a few instances where Touch ID is better, but I think the room for growth and the room for making Face ID even better than it is now can go a lot further than what Touch ID can. We've kind of maxed out what fingerprint readers can do. I don't think we can improve them that much more. Whereas a Face ID, you could get to a point where basically like 180-degree view, as long as you enter the room, the phone would be capable of unlocking. But we're not there yet, but we could get there is my point. And the front-facing camera, when you improve that, you improve Face ID. So you can improve selfies and biometrics simultaneously. Fernando, that's a R. Fernando Fernandez, thank you for the super chat. Off topic, but since primary start Monday, Tulsi 2020, I don't even know that, supports UBI, Universal Healthcare, fighting climate change, off act, and uses all Apple. Well, by all means, let's just vote for the people that use the products we use. Don't do that. Thank you for the super chat, but I don't want to talk politics because it never goes well. Everyone just gets angry and mad at each other, and I don't feel like doing that. But thank you for the super chat. Appreciate it. Do you think that the MacBook Pro 16-inch will be refreshed this year with Intel 10th gen? More than likely. It feels like in the past few years we've had like 2 MacBook Pro refreshes a year. Not design changes, but like CPU and GPU upgrades. They happen so often now. So I would say more than likely, yeah, they're gonna update the 16-inch. Will Apple release Black AirPods Pro? There's been no rumors or reports of it, but there's a. I think something has to do, like the fact that they're willing to let you engrave emojis. Like you can put the poop emoji on your AirPods, but they don't want to let you choose the color. It must have something to do with the iconic look of just an AirPod being white with the stem and everything. They just must think that that's part of the marketing, like that's part of the beauty of AirPods is how iconic that looks. So that's my guess as to why they haven't offered colors for it being such a successful accessory, such an incredibly successful product, and they still haven't added color options for it. I think it must be intentional. There's no way they just haven't got around to it yet. They must be like, no, it has to be that color because that's the iconic look of AirPods. That's my guess. If they're willing to let you engrave crap on it, there's something up. Yeah, I've been told I look like Boris Becker many times. All us redheads look the same. AirPods emoji thing. Has anyone done that yet? Tag me on Twitter if you've done that. Should they make the logo for the ARM chip an actual arm holding an apple? Yes. That's a great idea. Completely, Corey. Thank you. I don't watch sports. I know that's not tech related, but I've never been a sports guy. Growing up, I didn't find it interesting. I was the entire film department for my high school, so I had to film all of the sports teams, tennis, basketball, soccer, football. In America, those are 2 separate things. I agree, it's stupid. Even golf. What else was there? Basketball, did I say that? Every sport the high school had, I had to go to the games and film them and had to make them look good, which was very hard because all of the sports, all of our teams at my high school sucked. They were terrible, like all of them. They were all terrible at their job, and I had to somehow film them and make them look good. And it was the most boring work I've ever done. I've never been a sports guy, and I don't think I ever will be. I did mountain biking a lot growing up. After this live stream, I'm going to go canoeing with my dad. That's rather how I'd spend outdoor time, not kicking a ball around. But the reason I've never been a big fan is because it requires too much team effort, which I've never experienced very much success with. All of the times in my life where I've experienced a lot of success is when I have the most control over the project. When I'm relying, if I'm on a school project or something, it's always other people slowing it down. And I feel like if I was in sports, it would be the same way. I could try my hardest, but if the rest of the team isn't trying their hardest, then we're going to fail. So that's what I kind of like about a lot of the YouTube channels I maintain, is that it's completely dependent on me. So I can just put as much force as I want into it and experience results. I don't have to worry about other people slacking off, and I can't control what other people do. So I prefer it that way. What other feature could Apple bring to the next generation of AirPods? Cellular! Let's go down that argument. Because I want cancer in all our ears. What do you think about Apple Maps? Worth ditching Google Maps? I've ditched Google Maps a long time ago. I've experienced the complete opposite of the internet's opinion of Google Maps and Apple Maps. For the longest time, the internet's always been like, Google Maps good, Apple Maps bad, Apple Maps is glitchy and buggy. As soon as Apple Maps came out, I immediately switched to that, and it's worked great. I've never had issues with it. In fact, I've had tons of friends that use Google Maps get lost when trying to find my place. Not necessarily this one, but other houses in the past that I lived at, in my office in the past, and I've had lots of friends get lost with Google Maps. But I've never had an issue with Apple Maps. And all my friends who used Apple Maps never got lost finding my location. So I know that's completely anecdotal, and I live in a certain area. You guys live in different areas, so maybe it works better for you in your area. But for me, Google Maps has always been way worse than Apple Maps ever since I've used navigation. I think Apple rolled out Apple Maps before I was even driving, so I didn't really use Google Maps ever that much in my life. What would it take? What would it take to make you like 5G? I agree it's the future. I just think it's stupid that they're advertising it right now. It's going to take decades before 5G is like a modern mainstream thing. The only way you could get me into 5G is if you said that, you know, we could bring you gigabit Wi-Fi at home for like $100 a month. That's not what they're planning on doing, though. That's like way down the road. If you like live right next to a 5G tower, maybe you can get that, but I don't care about cellular is not a bottleneck of my phone internet performance. The bottleneck is coverage. The only reason we have situations where our phone cannot load a video or load a web page or load something on social media is not because LTE and 4G is limited to those speeds. It's because 4G is not maintaining coverage very well. We don't have 4G in all areas. If we did, we wouldn't have those problems. The issue is not that 4G is not capable of reaching gigabit. It's that we don't need gigabit on phones. And for two, it's a coverage issue, which 5G is the opposite of a coverage issue. It's the opposite of solving that, hey, let's make coverage better for cellular. Instead, it's like, let's introduce a new cellular service that has even worse coverage than 4G. Because 4G, you can put up one tower and cover like a square mile. Whereas 5G, high band at least, you can't do that. So solve the coverage issue. The only way you could get me interested in 5G is, no, they're not doing 5G. That's just rebranded gigabit LTE, because I've seen the speeds you can do with T-Mobile's 5G. That's not what 5G is. Whenever we talk about 5G, it's always about, well, you'll get way faster speeds. It's not. That's just a branding tactic. I can get faster than T-Mobile's 5G with 4G. In that case, is it really 5th generation? Is it really next gen if it's slower? When it comes to cellular connectivity, I don't see how that's next generation if it's not even faster. Well, it's low band 5. Then it's not 5G. It's a stupid definition. If 5G is anything that has the phone with the 5G logo in the top, even if it's 5 megabits a second, then that makes me think 5G is even stupid. What are my top wishes for iOS 14? Siri not taking up the entire display, phone calls not taking up the entire display, and any type of pop-up like enter your password or low battery, just making that into a notification, not something that interrupts your experience with the phone. That's all. Apple won't do in-screen Touch ID. They'll spend money just for people not to use it. They want it integrated with an essential piece of the phone's experience. Yep, I agree with you completely. Is there going to be a second version of AirPower? I think it'd be a good idea. We actually talked about it a lot on the next episode of the Talos of Tech podcast, so stay tuned for that. But because we got a report that they could be making a wireless charger, I think you could do everything AirPower advertised except the part about being able to place it anywhere. But I think that was a stupid thing to get held up on. I think you could easily make a 3-in-1 Apple certified charger that has the exclusive animations and the sounds and everything that no one else could. And I think you could probably put a little, just like the Apple Watch Charge Puck we have now that folds upward. You could build that in between the two and have two regular Qi coils that just support standard Qi charging. And okay, you don't get to place the Apple Watch anywhere on the charger. Big whoop. It still is a 3-in-1. It still requires you to bring one thing on trips. You could charge 2 phones or AirPods, 2 AirPods, 2 iPhones, mix and match them all you want, and just call it AirPower, and then that will kind of cover up that Band-Aid of Apple's history. I think you could totally do it. Easily. Is MacBook Pro 16-inch keyboard better than 2015 ones? I haven't used a 2015 MacBook Pro in a long time, but I think so. I enjoyed the keyboard. It felt stable and also not too thin like the butterfly keyboards do. I don't mind the butterfly keys. It made me nervous because I knew that they could go bad, that I didn't want to mess them up, but I don't know. I think they were good. There have been no new reported rumors on the AR glasses so far. Yeah, sorry. Nothing yet. Do you think phones are getting too big? Not for me. I have big hands. I'm happy with the size of my phone. But I still think it's fine if phones get bigger and bigger as long as you also make smaller ones, which is what Apple's doing. They're making a 5.4-inch iPhone and a 6.7-inch iPhone and some in between. That's perfect. You know, just have it all covered. I would take a bigger phone than this. I could go bigger. I'm excited for the 6.7-inch model because this is fine, but I wouldn't mind a display even larger. You watching any shows from Apple TV? I finished The Servant. That kind of sucked. I tried to watch more of the morning show, and I hate it. I can't get into it. Everyone on that show is so unlikable. Will Apple ever make a car? That would be a good video idea. I should make that. That's a good one. I like butterfly keys. Just keep them clean. Yeah, I like them too. I wish they didn't have so many durability issues. And it sounds like the 4th generation one, they finally got it right. So if they just roll that out across all MacBooks, then I'd be happier about it. But I want Apple to make a metal smartphone. Do you think stainless steel isn't metal? Or you mean metal on the back? You don't like wireless charging? What software do you use for daily video editing? Final Cut Pro. Big shock, I know. The Apple sheep uses Final Cut. Do you think the increasing amount of different iPhone screen sizes and resolutions will hurt the simplicity of developing for iOS that attracts so many devs? No, I don't think it's that complicated. I mean, the 5.4-inch model will probably not be that different to design for. I think the 6.7-inch iPhone will be compatible with the same optimizations as 6.5. We already have 6.1-inch iPhones, so I guess all they're really adding is one size, but they're also removing the 5.8-inch this year, so it's not... I bet you could take the UI of the 5.8-inch apps and just shrink them down to 5.4 pretty easily. I don't think that'll be an issue, no. Do you think the 12 Pro will have a base 128 gig storage, and are you going to get a PS5? I don't plan on getting a PlayStation 5. I have an Xbox One X that I barely use anymore. I used it a lot when I did more gaming streams, but I I got distracted with other projects since then, so I haven't used it very much. And then I used it a lot. I had a better setup for it at my last house, but at this house, I don't have a great place to put it. Because I want to have a dedicated live streaming station, because I do way more tech streams than gaming streams. So I haven't used it in a long time, so I wouldn't have a need. What's your age? You can literally Google that. I'm 21. I'll be turning 22 though in just a couple weeks. My birthday's on the 17th, so that's coming up. Let's see. Imagine if the back of the iPhone was metal, but the Apple logo was glass to support wireless charging. No, that's too small. The Apple logo would have to be like huge. It's way too small. I'll be 22 soon. I'm 21 now. Series 6 watch. What do you want? I have no idea for what they can do to the Apple Watch other than improve battery life and just make the bezels even thinner somehow. I don't know. Just shrink them even more. Either way, though, I gotta go, guys. I'm gonna go canoeing with my dad. Maybe I'll vlog. But thank you for your super chats. Thank you for watching. And I will see you guys in the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.